This is Film Center, your number one show for real entertainment industry news. No fluff, all facts. Now, here are your anchors, Derek Johnson II and Nicholas Killian.
Hello and welcome to Film Center. My name's Derek Johnson II.
I'm Nicholas Killian.
And what are we getting into today, Nicholas?
Today, we are but we are recording, interviewing you.
Me?
Derek Johnson II.
Oh, so this is the second part of the Meet the Host.
This is part 2 of Interview the Host.
Yeah, but I don't think people want... I think people want more of the LA Comic-Cons.
No, I am sure that people would love to know how the man that gets it all done ticks.
Oh, okay.
The man, the myth, the legend, Derek Johnson II. So, where would you like to start, Derek?
I don't know.
Well, tell us about your family. Tell about your early life. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Nashville,
Let's start off
Tennessee.
with that.
I'm from Nashville. I'm technically from Murfreesboro.
I think you're lying.
But I'm technically from Murfreesboro, but no one knows what Murfreesboro is.
Yeah.
And that's the only time my real southern accent comes out, is when I'm saying.
And tell us a little bit about Murfreesboro. Isn't Taylor Swift from Murfreesboro?
She's not. She used to go to this is an interesting story. She's from Pennsylvania. She moved to my town of Murfreesboro, basically berated it and said it sucked. So then her dad, her super rich producer dad, gave her $300,000 to make her first album. And it's funny because she basically was like, "Oh, country music is so boring and stupid. I bet you I could become a country music star." And she told us to everyone there. And there's going to be some people listening to this who's like, that's not true. But it is. Her ex-boyfriend was in my geometry class when after a couple years after she got popular, she came back for a Nashville tour. We bought him tickets, and he didn't want to go. But we thought it was funny, so then we told his mom, and she made him go. It was awesome.
And now this is not to slander her. This is just what happened.
Yeah, it's just literally what happened. A lot of people who... I graduated high school in 2013, but this was several years before then that she went there.
And tell us what she was like in high school. I'm sure people would love to know.
I didn't know her personally. There was football games, but it's not like I know who that... You can't name every person in your high school. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh, everyone knows who Taylor Swift is. All we knew was that she was just some chick from Pennsylvania who just hated everybody.
She just...
Not hate as in being mean, but she just had disdain of living there, and so it was like, whatever.
She thought she was better than...
Kinda. And to be fair, Murfreesboro is boring. It's not anymore. There's a lot more to do there. There's a whole bunch of Californians who've moved there and developed it, and now it's super expensive, and Californians...
And then, if you guys don't know, Derek is an all-around Renaissance man. So he writes, directs, he does everything but basically acts. That's one part that... But you did act before.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I think that's my first taste of entertainment. I was in musical theater. And...
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I was in musical theater, and I think that was really my first exposure to it. My family went to TPAC a lot, which is a lot of tours, a lot of like big Broadway shows. They tour the country first, when they end up in Broadway, and one of the stops is in Nashville.
You said TPAC?
TPAC is the name of the theater.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about the theater?
Yeah, it's a beautiful theater. Honestly, I've been to shows on Broadway before, and the TPAC Center, it stands for Tennessee, insert letters here, and then center. I should know. Because, like, in Nashville...
What a great representation.
All I know is, like... So, something that people might know about Nashville is a huge...
hockey spot.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's not wider known?
Because when people think Nashville, they think banjos and moonshine, which isn't exactly inaccurate, but... The Predator Stadium is just right there in downtown Nashville, and everything is just, like, around it.
Everything is built around it.
If you ask someone, like, they're like, where's that bar? And they were like, it's near the Pred Stadium. You'd be like, okay, thanks, jerk. As if I didn't already know that. Everything is near there. But something that I have really a lot of fond memories of is going with my parents to TPAC, seeing a lot of Broadway shows before they get on Broadway. Because it's significantly cheaper because it's in Nashville, and it's right there. You get dressed up, all the good stuff. And
so it's almost like Broadway for small town prices.
Exactly. It's the same exact people you will see in New York. It's the exact same cast and everything. It's just that they do their tour first. And TPAC is one of the places they stop. And so those things really influenced me, especially I remember seeing Wicked for the first time at TPAC, and it was like, that was the first, of course, Lion King is really great, Rent was really great, there was the Nutty Professor that came by that was also really awesome, stuff like that.
The Nutty Professor? I didn't realize that was a musical.
Yeah, there's a musical version of the Nutty Professor, which was incredible. The lead, I feel so bad, I'm blanking on his name, but he had to be able to sing in bass and tenor to play that, because the Nutty Professor's voice is all the way up here, and then the cool guy is like all the way down here. He had to be able to sing in those two voices and go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Incredible talent.
I didn't know that you could do that physically, so I was very impressed. But when I saw Wicked, I was like, oh, there is something so interesting here. It was an incredible show, and that's what really got me more into musical theater. And then, yeah, I think that's where I caught the bug.
Speaking of your parents, were they supportive of this career choice?
To be fair, my mother, she's a college professor. My father's a physician, and they didn't really think that I would be doing something like this. Even when I went off to college, I went to study genetics.
Because that's what you were studying before you decided. Because can you talk to everybody about how you were I don't want to say groomed, but you were...
That's a very... That's not... That's...
But the way... Because your dad is a doctor, and you were basically trained to become a geneticist. You went to a lot of camps, and...
Yeah, so
You worked with your dad in his office. Talk about that.
Yeah, so when I was younger, and I was a teen, middle school, high school years, I spent a lot of time. I went to space camp on scholarship several times because I was going to be studying to be a biologist. And they have anyone who's listening, if your kids want to go to space camp, NASA space camp has a whole bunch of different programs for young kids. And like I said, I was studying biology, and they still will give you a scholarship for that because they need all sorts of scientists in space and stuff like that. It's not only about programming and engineering and computer science. Then I spent some time at the University of Maryland, College Park. They had over the summer medical program there that I actually learned how to sew together. They had some pigskin for us to practice doing sutures and stuff like that. And I was really interested in the medical field. I think part of that really came from also, that's where my dad was working. My dad he only became a doctor when I was like, I want to say, I think it was in like 5th or 6th grade. Before then, he was in the military.
And he was a field medic in the military, correct?
Yeah. So he was a field medic in the military until about my 5th or 6th grade, and that's when he entered residency. I think that I went to college. So when I went to college, I just really had this feeling that I was supposed to be doing something else. And there's some people who know the day it happened, but I'll tell a short version of that story. The day for me where everything changed is I really had this feeling that I should be doing something else. I wrote really for therapeutic reasons, not imagining that I should be some filmmaker or something like that, or that I should write or do anything in entertainment. I just felt like I shouldn't be doing science. I was in a freshman in a junior chemistry class, biology class, doing well, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like I should do something else. And I'm very religious, so I remember going to the library and asking God, like, hey, God, if you want me to do something else, you got to give me a sign. But please know that as your follower, as your child, I'm an idiot. So it has to be a good sign.
It's got to be a good sign.
It's got to be a sign.
I'm oblivious.
And this is true. First of all, I waited and, I did it, at a chair, at a desk in the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, which is where I went to first. And I don't know what I thought was going to happen, the sky would open up or something. And even if it did, I was inside. So I wouldn't even have seen it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't know. I literally waited for 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't know why I'm still waiting here. And while I was leaving, I saw a whole bunch of people rushing to the auditorium. And it's University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and they have this lecture auditorium at the bottom of their main library. Everyone's running over there, and I stopped the guy. I was like, "Hey, where's everyone going? Where is everyone rushing to?" He goes, "Oh, James Wan is doing a surprise lecture here. Isn't that cool?" And I was like, "That is a really good sign."
That's a great sign.
That's a really cool sign. And I went to his lecture, and just hearing him talk about filmmaking and how much he loved movies, it really moved me. And then they had a drawing. And James gave me a Terminator 2 action figure.
Really?
Yeah, it's back at my dad's crib right now. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is, I guess, what I should be doing. So then, instead of doing something smart and intelligent, I was 18. So I decided, you know what? I think Disney's cool. So I'm going to work for Disney, but I don't know how to do that. So I signed up for the Disney College program. I went over there, which is the complete opposite direction of filmmaking.
Can you talk about the conversation you had with your parents before you went to the Disney program?
Oh yeah, calling my parents and telling them, hey, I know you've invested a lot of money into me being a geneticist, and this is since I was like a child. That's all I really
A
wanted to
good
do.
10 years.
No one's kid. I remember for Christmas one time, I think it was like in the 4th grade, I asked for like, chemistry for dummies, and my dad was like, "You don't want a Game Boy?" I was like, "I want that too, but I also really want this book."
Was that the story you were like, yeah, I want a book. I want a book.
I would say instead of video games, but it was definitely on my list to have all like these different science books. I love something I was really interested in. And for my parents to hear, I called my mom first. I knew that was going to be the softest blow. Even though she'd obviously then tell my dad. I told my mom, and my mom thought I was joking. And then I was like, "Oh, hey, Ma, I think I'm done with science." And remember, everyone my whole life, that's all they'd known me for is science. And also, my parents don't know that I write at all. They didn't really view the arts as something that you did professionally.
A viable career.
They viewed it as a hobby. I was doing musical theater in school. You know what I'm saying? It's just a hobby, just some extracurriculars.
Something DJ's doing.
Especially, it'll help me get into college, right? Saying, "Oh, I have these other skills." And also in high school, I was also in ROTC. Originally, I was supposed to go into the military, and then when that changed, that's when I went to college.
Can you talk about why you weren't accepted into the military?
Oh, yeah, I can actually. My ASVAB was really good. My ASVAB was 95. I was in ROTC. Siegel High School is one of the best ROTC programs in the state of Tennessee. A lot of my friends just went directly from high school to West Point, so it was really cool.
It's like a feeder school, right? Basically, your high school is a feeder school to West Point?
A theater school.
A feeder.
Oh, feeder school. There's a whole bunch we get recruiter guys all the time. You know what I'm saying? I was on the top Raiders team. I was on the top orienteering team, all that stuff. And then I went to go sign up for the military at 18. And my grandfather was also a World War II vet. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm about to serve my country. And just a stroke of fate, it turned out that Obama was downsizing the military at that time. And so he had a whole bunch of like stipulations preventing people to get in that previously did not exist. And one of those stipulations was if you take a certain level of ADHD medicine consistently, you would have to be off it for a year first to then join. And I wasn't about to wait a year. So then that's when I went to college. And then I'm going to speed run a little bit because I've done a whole bunch of stuff. So I went to then calling my dad and telling him, "Oh, I'm not going to do this." He didn't really believe me either. But I think both my parents, they said everything in the book. They were like, "You need what's your plan B? Where is this coming from? Who are you? What is happening?" And I think like a lot of people go through that. It's like telling your parents, "Oh, I want to do the art seriously." They don't believe you. They think it's a terrible idea. And I remember talking to both my parents about it later on, many years later. And they're like, "Yeah, we really tried to make sure that you didn't do it." They said it was idiotic. But from what I got from that conversation was like, "Oh, it's not stupid. It's idiotic. And it's not a good idea, but it's not stupid technically." So even though idiotic and stupid are very interchangeable.
Your parents never brought up pregnancy?
What do you mean?
Just to talk about myself a little bit, whenever I had the conversation with my parents, they were actually pretty supportive. The only thing my dad told me was, if you get a girl pregnant, that's it for you.
Oh, my family's super independent. So basically, after I entered college, they were like, "Yeah, you're on your own. You just got to cut off." That's my first summer back from college. My room wasn't even there anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how my family is.
They were like, 18, you're good, man. I got you.
I remember when I turned 17, my dad was like, "You want to go tour some apartments?" It's like,
I'm 17.
Because we're all really independent like that, they dissuaded me not to do it. But I also think that's what prevented them from saying, "You can't do it." It's because
you're so independent.
All of us are super independent, and that's just how my family rolls. You know what I'm saying? I went to Disney. I did the Disney college program for about a year. I laughed. I cried. I would never do it again, but I definitely wouldn't take away that experience from my life.
Like pledging in college.
No, it's worse because it's a year long.
But I guess the sentiment I'm saying is you would never do it again, but you're glad you did it.
Yeah, and then I spent some time at Universal afterwards. After my Disney contract got off. And then this was down in Florida, so I was down in Disney World. And then that's how I ended up at Florida State afterwards. Because then I was at Universal Studios, and my parents basically called me, and they were like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You're just working at theme parks." I'm like, yeah, to be fair, it was really fun. I was having a good time.
From what I heard, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, because I was like, when you're 18, 19, 20, You work at Disney World. A whole bunch of people who you haven't talked to in years, they now want to be your best friend because you have free tickets to Disney.
Exactly.
And then even like people who are like people you did not know you were related to, somehow you're related to them.
They're like, yo, man, what's up? Can I get some tickets?
Exactly. And the crazy part is, some of them, like, how would this even work? Like, you live in Connecticut. If I give you these tickets to Disney, you do still have to come over here
Right.
to get the tickets.
All I'm giving you is the tickets. You have to pay for everything else.
Right. My parents were like, you should, what happened to, I want to be working in entertainment. I was like, oh yeah, I did say that. So, I didn't know. I was like, maybe if I work at Disney, eventually there's some sort of crossover. I don't know. I also, at this point, I haven't even Googled what a script looked like. I did nothing. You know,
This
I was
is
like,
also
as long as I work for the companies, maybe something will happen.
This is also the same line of thinking when people go do extra work and they're like, maybe the director will notice me, put me in a featured role, and I'll
Right.
become discovered that way, which is
Right.
the same ridiculous line of thinking.
Yeah. So then, at Florida State University, I spent a lot of time with their film school and shadowing the people who in their graduate program. I was a PA for a lot of them for about 11 films.
Could you talk about that process a little bit?
Yeah. Usually you need to be a part of the graduate college at Florida State University to help on their films, or like friends of one of the people or something like that. But when I got to Florida State, I really was like, okay, I'm going to be here to do film stuff. And the film school at Florida State University is actually in the football stadium. And I had some friends who were playing football. So they told me where it is because that's the only place in the stadium they're not allowed to go.
Right.
Obviously. This is true. I went to the film school and the doors were closed. So there's like this bench outside of it. And I literally just sat on the bench. I think it was like a Tuesday. So I knew some people were going to be walking by. It's Tuesday. And I didn't have classes on Tuesdays at that time. I literally sat there all day till I saw someone who like looked like a graduate student. And I think it was Kendra. And he was like, Kendra or other, I'm pretty sure, I'm just say Kendra because I'm pretty sure that's who it was. And I basically walked up to her and was like, hey, you're part of this film school? You're a graduate film student here? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Are you making any, like, you make movies and stuff, like short films? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Hi, my name's Derek Johnson. I will do anything on that set.
That's a great attitude to have.
Right. Just all the bull crap you want me to get. And she was like, oh, you want to be a PA. And I was like, I don't really know what that means. I'll do it for free. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yep. So dude, she literally takes me into like her class. And they were like apparently all sitting around about to get all their films greenlit for Florida State. Florida State Film School. A lot of film schools work this way.
Have their slate of...
They have their slate of student films, and they had to get greenlit by the teacher or whatever. And it was just the students sitting around at that time. She would walk me directly in there and then introduce me to everyone. It's like, hey, this is DJ. He wants to be a PA for free. And everyone's like, whoa, do you want to work on my film? You want to work on my film? You want to work on my film? And I literally got to work on everybody's stuff. It was funny. By my fourth semester there, I had been on literally everyone, it's not the undergraduates, but all the graduate student films. I had people like arguing to get me on their student films, mainly because I was just doing anything people asked me to do. The biggest thing for me was just, it was such a great experience to learn. It was such a great learning experience.
I bet.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything at all. And to be able to go and interact with this film school students and see how they're writing, see what it's like to be on set. What do these cameras do? What do these lenses do? You know what I'm saying? And there's a huge balance that I got used to when I was working at Disney between being curious and being annoying. There's definitely a line there.
Razor thin line.
Right. And how you usually balance that, especially someone like me who's really curious, I like to know everything. I would ask them a max of 3 questions. That was like my thing. I was like, you can't ask more than 3 questions before lunch and can't ask more than 3 questions after lunch. And
That's a great rule.
yeah, and it's like to a specific department. So it's not, I'm not going to go up to the director and bother them.
Not 3 questions for each department or each person.
Not each person or each department. Someone's super busy. I'm not going to be bothering them. But after I made like 5 or 6 with them, everyone just knew me. So they would talk to me more. When I first got on there, don't ask the camera department more than 3 questions. And so it also makes you razor down, like, what am I trying to ask? You know what I'm saying?
It also probably makes you curate your questions.
Right.
And makes you calculate your questions and think about, okay, what do I actually want to ask? What do I really want to know? I only have these 3 questions.
Right. And I spent most of my time actually because I was doing PA stuff, PAs are often funneled into just something. Whatever you seem to just do the most, if you're a consistent PA, they just make you just do that. They just shove you into that section. And for me, that was PD. Doing a lot of PD and wardrobe.
What is PD?
Production design. I was working in a lot of the art department, the production design department. I was working with a lot of wardrobe people, and I was making costumes. And I was making some costumes that got into some of their movies, which was really cool.
How did you like that?
I thought it was awesome. I had previously, not that I'd been to a couple Comic-Con conventions, but I never really thought to myself, oh, let me make a costume. And so I saw them starting to make some. Then I was like, oh, I wonder if I could also do that. YouTube Academy,
Test your metal.
Looked it up, and a really great moment for me is like when I had this Swan Monster costume that I did get into one of their short films, which I thought was really cool.
It must have made you feel really proud of yourself.
Oh, it made me feel like I wasn't wasting my time. I need to prove. So I still because my parents were still like, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on?"
A lot of creatives sit there and ask themselves, "Am I wasting my time?" Pretty much all the time.
I was making costumes. Then I got into the New York Film Academy, the Los Angeles branch here in California, in Burbank.
Can you talk about the story of getting into NYFA?
I wish the story was more interesting. All that really happened was like my portfolio after working on so many short films was pretty good. And ironically, I didn't get into Florida State's film school, even though I helped make them a whole bunch of movies.
Having so many connections at Florida State, did you ask them like, hey, man, I've worked on all of your movies.
I even helped some of the teachers move in. Some people who are judging who gets it or not. And I don't know, it's a little scandalous, but basically what happened was, I'm not going to say who or what did anything, so keep it general for whatever, but I did get into the school. And then, because it was told me while I was registration, like, yeah, of course you got it. Yeah, you're in. And then while I was finalizing the list, a person who will remain unnamed paid for their kids to be in Florida State's film school.
And took your spot.
And took my spot and also someone else's spot. I don't know who the other person is, and literally the students were like, got really upset, obviously, because I'm like a good friend of theirs and I've been working with them for like 3 years, 2-3 years on all their stuff. Here's what it is. And then I was like, okay, Abbott Fruit. I thought I was going to Florida State. But my dad was like, all the movies made in Los Angeles? And I was like, yeah. He goes, why don't you try getting into the Los Angeles school? And I was like, I don't want to go to USC or UCLA. Specifically because, I don't know. I was like, okay, if I'm going to go to there, I might as well just go to, what's the difference between all these film schools anyway? Does it really matter which one you go to?
And what have you found to be the difference?
Not a whole lot. Really, the alumni, and that's about it. Even though that's like razor thin, because some alumni, the director of Moonlight came from Florida State. He didn't go to USC. But then Steven Spielberg went to USC, but again, that was in the 70s. It depends. The reason why I applied to NYFA was because they were the only film school that had a feature program, in which a select few other students got to make a feature film and not a short film. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Why don't other film schools do this? And it's really super selective.
Why don't other schools do that?
Because it costs more. It's way easier to teach kids or whoever. Here's a camera. Here's a few $1,000s. Go make a short film. Compared to, okay, now you don't need to write 10 minutes of script. You need to write hour and a half, 2 hour script. That needs to be compelling. And obviously it's going to cost more than a couple $1,000s. You then run into legal issues. You know what I'm saying? With the short film, you can get away with a lot of stuff. When it's a feature, you can't. There's a saying that I learned working at Florida State's film school, which to this day has seemed very true to me. Short films cost money. Feature films make money. For short film, you got to send it to different film festivals and stuff like that. When it comes to feature films, you don't send them to a whole... I mean, you can send them to film festivals if you want to, but you can sell that feature film to be licensed somewhere, and that generates money.
Right.
Compared to a lot of short films, you can't really do that too. You can have a short film with an A-list actor in it, and it's less likely to get sold than a feature film with no A-listers in it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you could have just a regular feature
with
film
you and your friends. It's more likely to generate money than if I had Jude Law in my short film.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a gem right there.
And
it'd be good to know.
Yeah.
Before you pour all this money.
Yeah, into
a short film.
There's some people who spend like $40K, $50K. I know a handful of people who regularly perform very well with short films. I know this one guy, his short films are consistently like nominated for Oscars and stuff like that. However, that was his thing. He was like, I want to master short films, and he's been doing short films for like 40 years.
40?
Yeah, almost half.
4 decades?
Yeah, 4 decades. Almost half a century he's been doing exclusively short films and just working and making really good short films.
And what's the time length on these short films?
They're like, for a short film to be a short, it needs to be under 40 minutes. And so they usually land around 30. So they're not tiny.
Yeah, they're not like 10 minutes long.
Which a lot of people do to get their stuff easily programmed. But yeah, NYFA had a feature film program, and so I decided, this is what I want to go into. And then I became a writer because I have never read a script of screenplay until I was 24. But I basically went there to make costumes for feature films, and a teacher of mine pulled me aside, and it was like, hey, because no one there had any money, like usual. Sorry, spoiler alert to everyone in Los Angeles. The people who don't live in LA, but a lot of people out here don't actually have any money.
No
especially
money.
The film school students. We had to make our own films from costumes to be in the film. So I'm writing, directing in film school so people can see my costumes. And then a teacher of mine pulled me aside, Gilbert, was like, hey man, can I see you after class? I'm like, sure. And he goes, you want to make costumes? I was like, yeah. He goes, you should be writing. And I was like,
So they recognized your talent in writing.
Yeah.
And was like, you should write more than you should make costumes.
Yeah, that's what he said. And at first I was like, I don't really know because I'm really into making costumes. And he was like, no, do me a favor. Write it seriously. Take writing seriously. Just the next 2 scripts that you write for the class, take them very seriously. And the rest became history. I ended up really enjoying it. And one of those scripts that I wrote in film school became Sweating Sand, which was a short that I'm mostly known for. That's now going to be a TV show.
Which is the TV show we're making right now.
It is. It is, yeah. And I wrote that, when I was in film school. And if that teacher never said that to me, I never would have became a writer-director.
So shout out to Mr. Gilbert.
Yeah, shout out to Gilbert. Yeah, exactly.
And then what did you do coming out of film school?
Coming out of film school, I was hired. It was a pandemic. I was going to make a feature film. My first big feature, Sweating Sand, was going to be a feature film because they'd already won, we were only on a festival circuit for 4 or 5 months, and we had 10 awards and 2 nominations. It was going crazy. So getting the money for the feature actually wasn't too difficult because it was winning all these awards. But it got greenlit in January 2020. And by March, everything was topsy-turvy. But I actually got hired to be a development executive when I was right out of film school, when I was 25. I was almost 26, 25, 20, almost 26. It was right before my 26th birthday. And that experience was really great. I wrote a script called Blood Related, and that's what... So I was taking Blood Related around to anyone who would see it, anyone who would look at it. It was a script that I was very passionate about. And the guy who I worked for at the time at the school, David Nelson, I guess gave it to someone who then looked at it and then passed it around until eventually it got recognized by Voyage Media. And then after Voyage Media,
Wow.
and a guy named Ken Koken, who was a former executive at Perfect World Pictures, liked it. And then from there, through the connection, I was able to be hired at the development company of Hot Pot Productions while it was getting founded. And now I do this. Yeah, I've since left Hot Pot Productions just because
Internal strife.
that, and you want to be able to create and do bigger stuff. When you work in development, all you do is just spend your time making other people's stuff come alive. You want to make your own stuff come alive,
Right.
Eventually, right? Yeah, that's me.
That's you,
Yeah.
man. And then at the start of the pandemic, that's when you moved into to the apartment.
Yeah, for those listening, me and Nicholas know each other from being roommates.
Just off random.
Off random.
Just random. And how did you find the? You found it off Craigslist, right?
Yeah, super sketchy. But I was like, hey, I'll go check it out. And yeah, because I was leaving. They didn't have dorms at my film school, but it was like they had designated places for you to live. And I was like, I'm gonna find some place small to be for like, a couple months and then leave. And then I ended up being there for a year. And that's how me and Nick know each other.
And didn't you say your former roommate was like a crime boss or something?
That is a story for another time. That is, he did international money laundering and owed of like millions of dollars.
And didn't the FBI kick down your door?
Yeah, that's a story for another time. I think we're running out of time here. But yeah,
I don't know. Everybody might stick around for it.
That did happen though. And yeah, they seized the property. It was crazy. Story for another time.
But all right, Derek, thank you so much for just being so thorough and letting us into your world for a little bit. I'm sure everybody will enjoy this quite a bit.
Yeah, I enjoyed opening up, and this is part of the reason why we did the Meet the Host, because we get so many people commenting about who are these people
Right.
on the show. But hey, that's me. I'm Derek Johnson II,
I'm Nicholas Killian.
and we'll see you next time.
See you.
This has been Film Center on Comic-Con Radio. Check out our previous episodes at filmcenternews.com. Sign up for our newsletter and get the Hollywood trade straight to you. You can follow the show at Film Center News on all major platforms. Tune in next week for a fresh update. Until next time, this has been Film Center.
Hey, do you like anime and manga? Well, Nick and I are big fans of the genre.
Yeah, we recently discovered a manga named Tamashii. It's written and created by Ryan McCarthy, and it recently just came out with its 10th volume.
Now, Tamashii is an isekai about a girl who gets transported to another world called the Ancient Lands. She gains mysterious powers and must fight demons and monsters to find her way home.
Check it out on Amazon, Blurb, and get a physical copy at RyanMcCarthyProductions.com.